Hey there, and welcome to the Confident Chemistry Teacher Podcast. I'm Kim, your go-to chemistry coach for engaging teaching strategies and simple solutions to the everyday challenges chemistry teachers face. Let's get this reaction started. Hey chemistry peeps, welcome back to another episode of the Confident Chemistry Teacher Podcast. Today I'm going to be running you through my periodic table unit, just highlight my favorite activities I do in there, the main concepts that I teach. Now, as I'm recording this, it's Sunday, October 26th, and I feel like it's so weird. I feel like some people have not got to periodic tables yet, and some people are like way past that on chemical bonding. So I hope that you guys find this episode helpful. Maybe save it for next year, put a little sticky note in your binder if you've already gotten past periodic table to come back and listen to this podcast, and reach out to me and let me know like if I should be talking about chemical equations, which I don't normally teach chemical equations until like December, January. If you're like, yo lady, you need to be giving me this information way ahead of time, then let me know. Otherwise, it's kind of like, this is kind of in your ear for some ideas. Let me know what works for you guys. So when I talk about the periodic table, the first thing that I go over is a little bit of the history and the development of the periodic table. Then, of course, I do like the three main basic things: atomic radius, ionization energy, and electronegativity. In my honors class, I'll talk about ionic radius size, and I guess I talk about that in my chemistry 1 class too, but I definitely like focus on it more in my honors class. And then if I have time, I'll talk about electron affinity, but it's kind of something that I don't really focus on too much because it's not really mentioned in the AP class. And it's kind of like a little random factoid that I don't think like my Chem 1 kids necessarily need. So that gives you a rundown of what I go over. I also do another review of electron configurations here and about how the periodic table, once again, can help with figuring out the electron configurations. I do teach that in the electrons unit, but I think it's good to review it again and then tie it in more with like the trends that we're seeing here. So I always like to start this unit off with the periodic table song. I think the gentleman that made it passed away a few years ago. I'll try to link it in the show notes for you guys. If you heard it, you would know it, and then it sticks in your head forever. My first couple of years teaching, I gave kids extra credit if they could memorize the whole song, and some kids did. It was pretty funny. Then there's also a TED Ed video that I like to show on Mendeleev, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. Mendeleev. I feel like there's many different ways that you can pronounce what we would describe as the father of the periodic table. And as I'm saying that, I realize that's not exactly the real history. I feel like for everything that's been discovered, I'm going to put that in quotation marks, somebody previously has discovered that. Like I just saw like a gas law is being renamed that I think I called it something else, and now it's more recently called like, starts with an A, like Anamon's gas law or something. Okay, sorry, squirrel moment. Let me get back to it. So I like to have a little fun, show the kids the periodic table song, watch this Mendeleev video about how it shows about how he created it and left spots on the periodic table. Then this will lead me into, again, depending on what level of chemistry I'm teaching, I'll do the periodic table basics activity. It's honestly, I feel like a middle school activity. You can find it on the science spot. It's basically where the kids create their own periodic table in their notebooks. I definitely do it for my Chem 1 students because I think it's just a good review of protons, neutrons, electrons. And then it shows them like how the whole periodic table there is. And even though I've mentioned the number of like valence electrons before, they're creating their own periodic tables. So then they're really seeing this group has all one valence electron. I definitely do that with my chemistry 1 class. If it's an honors class and I have extra time, or, I hate to say this, if it's grading time and I need like kind of a filler activity while I enter grades or something for a day or two, then I'll give my honors kids that. Then, as I was saying, that Mendeleev, that TED Ed Mendeleev video of the history of the periodic table, I'll link that in the show notes as well, by the way. I'll jump into the Flinn cards activity. I like the Flinn, it's in the cards lab for my honors kids, and then a coworker has a simpler version that I do with my Chem 1 students. It just has less information and it makes a little bit more sense for the Chem 1 students. So it's like a hands-on lab. So let me back up. So like day 1, we're doing the periodic table song, the Mendeleev video. We're also doing a prerequisite worksheet, okay? Day 2, if we're doing it, we're going to do the periodic table basics activity. And then for my chemistry 1 students, it takes them 2 days for that. Then we'll do the it's in the cards activity. Again, this is one of those labs that I used to be able to cram in 1 day, but now I'm just taking 2 days, and then it's less stressful for everybody. Then this is going to be controversial, people. I really think that you should be teaching Coulomb's law. And it might be because I've taught AP chemistry since like the new rewrite in like 2013. But I feel like Coulomb's law is so important in teaching the periodic table. It, for me, helps the students focus on what are the 2 main factors that we're looking at. And that's obviously, I know you guys know, the distance that the electrons are from the nucleus, and then the number of protons. And then that POGIL helps them understand the relationship between these 2 trends that they'll see. Plus, I'm a visual girl, and I do show them the Coulomb equation. Not that I make them memorize it or anything like that, but I just show them, like, look, distance is on the bottom. It's going to have a greater impact than these charges would up on the top. So I just usually show them, I call it F, and I'm sure you guys are going to need to correct me, but I usually just say attractive force is equal to Q1 times Q2 in the numerator divided by distance. I've seen it as R squared on the bottom. Honestly, I don't really exactly care. The kids, I just like to put the D on the bottom so the kids no, distance is really important here. I'll show them that, and I teach them that with the shocker, the Flinn Coulombic attraction POGIL. Then I do another POGIL back to back, which I know I kind of squirm about because I talked, I think in the last episode, that I sometimes think I POGIL them to death, but I think it's just a really good POGIL. I do the periodic trends POGIL. That data is shown there in a more simplified way. And so I think that seeing it a second time, the kids already kind of did the lab earlier. They're really starting to cement the trends with the numbers, and they're way more understanding what those different things, ionization, electronegativity, and atomic radius are. And by the way, I do go over those definitions before I do the it's in the card lab, but I don't do the lecture till after that activity because I want them to see the trends for themselves. Then boring but useful, because I really feel like this is something that the kids need to do 30 problems on. And it's not like 30 problems of math, but which one has a bigger atomic radius? Which one has a smaller ionization energy? I really think the kids need to do a lot of practice to, again, cement those ideas into their brain. Then another day I'll show them a sodium video. The video I have, it's like where somebody's cutting sodium and it's really soft. I know most of us have probably seen sodium in real life, but with my kids, I'm not bringing sodium into my classroom. Sometimes our school doesn't have it, doesn't allow it. And honestly, I just feel like it's a huge kind of liability thing. So I don't worry about it. But I do show them the video of sodium, and I'm like, hey, look at what's happening here. You know, you put it in water and it explodes. We've all seen those big videos. And then there's another one that I show that's just it's fizzing around in the beaker. And we can talk about why it lights on fire. And then that leads into a good introduction for the lab that we're going to do the next day, which is the periodic trends, a Flinn lab, and properties of elements of the alkali earth metals lab. This lab usually can be done, the lab part can be done in a day, and then they need a second day to analyze the results. And the kids really do like this lab because they get to see the calcium reacts really well. The calcium reacts with the water, gives a really cool little fizziness going on. They really like that. The only thing if I'm remembering correctly from this lab, is they want them to write chemical equations in this lab, and we haven't learned them. yet. So usually I just give the kids those couple of answers at the beginning of the lab, because then it helps them see what's reacting, what are the reactants, and then what are the products that they're producing. So I do like that lab. Again, one day I really just want to make like a simpler version of that lab, but for right now I just use the Flinn one, and like I said, scratch out or tell the kids what the equations are. Then I have the periodic trends bingo rolling the dice activity I do. It's basically set up like a bingo table. Like it's like A's on the one, A through whatever, F, and then like 1 through 3, I think. They like roll the dice. It has some different letters. And anyways, on the bingo card, it just says like which one's bigger. So going back to that more practice that they need, again, practicing which one has more ionization energy, which one has less. So it's kind of a more fun way to integrate more practice. And then finally, we do a practice test. Again, it's just more practice. And I find by this point, the kids are like taking the class more seriously and are like, oh, dang, I better do that practice test. And then shocker, we have the test. And then just something I just want to mention, if I haven't already, usually on the test day for a topic, I'll also give them the prerequisite worksheet for the next day. So like the next unit that I would do after periodic table, I actually do is chemical nomenclature. So like writing and naming formulas. So that I would give them like a little prerequisite worksheet, and then that way those kids that finish early are still being productive, and those kids that needed more time to complete the whole test, they can just go ahead and finish that up at home, and then normally we'll go over it the next day in class. Okay, I hope that you guys found that helpful. If you have any questions or any like way cooler things, as always, you guys, I'd love to hear from you, because I want to make my class cooler, and I know you guys are awesome teachers out there. So please share with me, and then if you want, I'll share with other people as well. As always, guys, keep experimenting, keep inspiring, and keep making your classrooms more awesome. Happy teaching.